Hey everyone, sorry this video is a bit late. Just finding the time to actually upload it and film it. So, it's Thursday just gone. I picked up my A-level results for my exams and I'm just going to let you know what I got and any tips, revision tips. You don't always have to follow what college tell you. I did 3 A-levels because that was depending on my GCSEs. I was 1 point off doing 4 A-levels, in which I'm glad because I don't think I could have done 4. I did film studies, psychology, religious studies, which comes under philosophy and ethics. Film was an AS, so I had an exam last year with coursework plus an exam this year with coursework, and they combined the two together to get the overall grade. Overall, in film, I got a B overall, which I'm really happy about, but there's a little minor thing that's really starting to bother me about it, but I'll get into that near the end. I got an A in psychology overall. We did 3 papers, it was linear, and I got an A star overall in philosophy and ethics for religious studies, which I am really surprised at. That's the one I was getting the lowest in consecutively out of the 2 years. So I don't know how I pulled it out of the bag. Psychology, with it being linear, because we were the first year that it changed from AS to A-level. So we had 3 papers to do at the end of the second year, so it was like 2 years worth of work, and then you had 3 exams to just write everything. And I got 214 points overall, and that's a really high A. It was 3 marks off an A star, but I'm not getting that remarked because I'm happy with an A. I went into the exam thinking I have to get at least an A in this because I've been getting that all year, and it would really piss me off if I got lower. And then, alright, I'll tell you how did I revise for psychology now. I literally just read through the booklets and I just happened to remember the main bits. I didn't remember it word for word, but if I knew what something was saying, then I could phrase it in my own head and then group the information because a lot of it overlaps. But I could just read through the booklets intensively. Like, you have to do work throughout the year for your revision. We got given so many tests, and our psychology department in our college was like, because loads of people were doing it, we just constantly got given tests, like every 2 weeks. It was mad, just mad. But they always tell you in college, like in our college, like you should be doing 4 hours a week of revision outside of class for each subject. That's bollocks. Okay, that does not apply for all. In most colleges they'll probably have one rule that they'll generalise for everybody, but you don't have to follow it. If you know your content, you know your content. If you know your shit, you know your shit, don't you? So you don't have to keep going over it because you'd burn out. So what I ended up doing was just reading through the booklets as and when I had a test, grouped the information together, went into the exam, had a question on it, knew what to write about. So that's why I got an A overall. The last paper was 316 markers, and then that's the one I got the highest marking out of the 3 papers, that one. I don't know how, but I did. And I'm so glad I never have to do research methods ever again. Just changed location because the cat was like being really loud. In philosophy and ethics, last year for the AS, I got a B overall. I got an A in the philosophy exam and a C in the ethics exam because I didn't really revise much for it. I thought I knew more than I did. So I got a B overall in that. And this year they gave me the option to resit the ethics paper. So I did, and I got a B in that, a very high B. So that bumped, I think, my overall grade. I don't know if I got an A then, it moved it to an A last year, I can't quite remember. But it bumped my grade up quite a lot. And then in the exams this year for A2, I got an A in the philosophy one and an A in the ethics one. And in the ethics paper I got 100 UMS, 100% in that paper. Don't know how, and I couldn't explain it to you if I tried. They give you content and use your content well, but there's always ways that you can group the content that you may never think, and you can also don't be afraid to use your own ideas or your own theories that can link in with the content and therefore have a more thorough explanation. Like somebody else's theory, like for example in religion you've got anything that you can include, because we do Christianity, but don't be afraid to counteract that with other religions. All the stuff you haven't covered, for example, spirituality, you can include it because it stems. All like religions have the same stem. All like spiritual stuff, they all have the same purpose, same stem. So in that form, and even if you write that, you'll probably get credit for it. So don't just rely on what they give you. sort of put your own slant on it, and they'll be impressed and they'll really like it. So they were nice to me on the day, because I went into those exams thinking, okay, I've been getting A's this year. It'd be nice if I could get an A again, but if I get a B, that's perfectly fine. And it went the other way, and I came out with an A star, because I've been scraping an A all year for this subject, and I've been getting really high A's and everything else. So I was thinking, okay, if I get a B, it'll be in this. So to get an A star, I couldn't tell you if I tried. If you group things together, you will see that there are similarities, and even if they're not obvious similarities, you can make them obvious with your own reasoning. Yeah, now we got into film studies. Last year I got a B in it overall. I got A in the practical / coursework and a C in the exam, which is fine because I didn't really I worked hard last year, but near the exams I kind of slacked a bit, which kind of makes sense. But this year, like, I worked really hard this year. As soon as I started getting A's, I was like, I need to maintain this. I have to maintain this. Whatever I'm doing is working, so kept that level. And again, I got an A in the practical and coursework, but here's what's really, like, confused me. What does matter to me is a very low D in the written paper, and I can't work out why, because the content we've been given in class, I've applied it the exact same way in all of my tests, which I've been getting really high in. Most of them were full marks. And the teacher was like saying, "Oh, you've got no worries going to this. You've got no worries going to this exam if you write like this and include this sort of information." So I was like, okay. I went into the exam, it included all the information that I needed, related to the question, included quotes and who said them in the last question, and I come out with just scraping a D. So I can't work out what's going on there, whether I've gone off on a tangent, which I doubt, because if I can 100% in an ethics paper, which is to do with arguing and making a balanced point on either side, then surely, if my writing's fine, then I wouldn't get that low. So that put me on a B overall, which I'm really happy about. Just, I'm getting my paper checked, because I want to know why it's that low, because it doesn't add up with everything else. It's an anomaly. It doesn't add up. So I need to find out what's going on there. I know I've got higher. I don't know. It just seems a bit suspicious to me. That's not me being narcissistic or anything. It just doesn't sit well, because it's considering me getting A's and A stars and everything else, and I come out with a very low D in that. Yet it's to do with writing. Then I don't quite know how. But the way I did it, I'll let you know, because until I get it checked and everything, and maybe get it for a remark. This is my grade at the moment. It may change after the remark, in which case I may post another video about it. But yeah, so I'm waiting for that paper to come through, then once later down the line, I'll let you know. So yeah, how I revised for it and got full marks is the content. Basically, we wrote through, like, example answers to content in a booklet. You have, like, a scene, it's split into, like, CBA sections. So the higher the letter, the more advanced the point is. We have to you go in that order. So you have your C point, which is like an introduction, a vague sort of explanation for something. You then have to back that up in your grade B section with a scene from the film you've studied. And then from that you say, does that have any other significance to anything else? Or link it on to any other sort of advanced theories or theorists that can support it. Different colleges do different content. We did Mexican cinema for Section A. Section B, which was talking about emotional responses, said a scene, said how it would be creating an emotional response, said how it can be different amongst different spectators, said how the scene does not contribute for some spectators because of this and this, cliches whatsoever, so therefore you have a balanced point. In Section C, you say the close critical analysis of one of your films, plus review writing, so that's what I did. Opinion goers was the question, so in other words, people with ideas and theories. You include them in there. I quoted them and everything, so I don't know how I got that low. But anyway, what I do with it is, we wrote down my example paragraphs for each section, and then what I did, I picked, like, key points from it and wrote it down on, like, a lined piece of paper, summarised some words, so whenever I read through it, I knew the order that I had to write everything in, like that. And obviously, you didn't have to fully do it in that order, but as long as you included everything on that list, I guarantee it got me, like, pretty much an A, pretty much, like, 35 out of 35 in every test marked in college. So I knew I was doing something right, so to get that, I just don't know. So if you want to do that and you want to follow my strategy for this is like an example for Section C that I did. Our film's Fight Club, so for example, you got themes of anti-consumerism. So I split down this is what was in the booklet, and I've just broken it down so I can see it, like, clearly. So in other words, you've got introduce your film, your overview, director, and like a little overview of what the film's about. Any messages that are in there. Back that message up with the theorist and their quote, highlighted in orange. Blah 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 blah. How you've got some key scenes to support it. How that can link to nihilism, and etc. etc. If you do stuff like that if you're doing film or anything really, I think it's quite a good technique. But if, like, for example, if you are doing film, you don't just want to sit reading through your booklets. Take down what each section is saying. You just highlight certain areas, main points, and then link that up with maybe what's it called? An abbreviation of something, so you know it, so you can just scan over it and think like blah blah, and you know what you're writing about. So if you do that, it worked for me. I got 100% pretty much all the time in the class, but for some reason it didn't work in the exam, which seems suspicious. I got an overall an A star, an A and a B, and I am really happy with it. Especially, and don't worry if you just got your AS results in year 12. And even if you might be happy, whether you're happy with them or not, if you'd like them to be higher, or if you've done really low and you want to get higher, if you got another year, and although they say the work is harder, it is a bit. But for me, I did better this year. I don't know. The work seems more interesting for me in year 13. I just got engaged with it a lot more. Hence the results. So yeah. As long as you put the effort into it, then you're guaranteed to do really well. So, as everybody says. So, A star, A and a B, and I needed an ABB to get into university, and I got in. So, I'm moving into halls in the next couple of weeks. So, that'll be a new experience for me. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.